Hey everyone, what is good? Welcome back to the channel. This is Silver Hyena, and if this is your first time here, welcome. Glad to have you here. Before I begin spewing my recent shower thoughts and ponderings, please make sure to gently tap on that like button and hit subscribe. Seriously, that is the #1 way you can help this channel grow. And it's free! Who doesn't like free things? Lovely. Now that the introduction is out of the way, let us move on. First off, this video is a test of my new filming setup. While on the surface it doesn't seem like much has changed, more has actually changed than you might have realized. I miss my old windowsill. Seriously, among everything I used for filming, the one thing that I couldn't take with me was totally my MVP. And while yes, this setup is working so far, I do believe that investing in a sturdier drawing table / desk would be in my best interest. I couldn't help but notice that things are a little bit more bouncy than I prefer, especially if I have to erase anything. Oh boy, it's like a freaking earthquake whenever I have to erase anything. Or if I just draw very vigorously and heavy-handed that particular day. Oof. However, on the plus side, it only cost me about $12 or so, give or take. I just need to be careful and make sure Charles doesn't take a nosedive, especially when working with any sort of wet media. Oh boy, that would get ugly fast. I mean, like, as we all know, fire types and water don't get along. So far, being in Texas has been a bit of a wild ride, to put it lightly. I mean, getting here in the first place was an adventure all its own, but even once we got here, the ride wasn't over yet. By the way, this video is kinda sorta an extension of my moving vlogs. If you're curious, I'll have links to those in the description below. So, the summarized version, I thought we'd be able to make it in like 3 days. Oh boy, how wrong I was. More like 6 days. There was everything from bad weather to vehicle trouble, miscommunication, faulty GPS coordinates, terrible drivers, you name it. On the plus side, no tornadoes. So there's a spot of good news. For those of you that don't know, the United States is absolutely enormous. I knew this, yet I naively thought we'd make it to our destination in a matter of 3 days. Silly me, silly me, silly me. But once we got here, first there was the stay in the scummiest Super 8 that I have ever stayed in. Then once we got our apartment, there was the scramble to set up and unpack what we had, see about getting work started, and of course, setting up utilities. And after a few days of that madness, Snowmageddon struck. And boy did she strike with a vengeance. You see, one of the reasons I wanted to leave Washington State was because I hated the cold, dreary climate, especially in the winter. Texas is supposed to be warm. But instead, shortly after move-in, there was snow and ice just as bad, if not worse, than what I grew up with in Washington State. It's like it followed me here or something. Or a comedy of errors, just minus the comedy. And before you mock Texas for being unprepared for this sort of thing, would you make fun of, say, Florida if they ended up getting a freak snow and ice storm? This sort of thing isn't supposed to happen here. Okay, now that that's done, so far the people have been nice as long as they aren't driving. People here like to drive fast. As for me, I have an aversion to speeding tickets. So I'm one of those teetotalers who drives the speed limit. There will be a major adjustment period, I think. I mean, if you were like driving 5 miles an hour over the speed limit, you still get people whipping around you gunning the engine like it's frickin' NASCAR or something. I mean, like, the drivers here are kind of crazy and they scare me a little. Alrighty, so some stories from the road that I didn't have a chance to film or would have just made for terrible vlogs, so I didn't bother. In one of my moving vlogs, I made mention of an incident in El Paso. Well, it had been a long day driving through a good chunk of Arizona. Then we had to go through New Mexico, which we did not want to stop in New Mexico for reasons. Trust me, we had our reasons. But that also meant a 3-hour plus drive down back roads with absolutely nothing in sight. You see, the road we were going to take was closed. Yep, you heard that right. The road we planned on taking was closed that very same day, and we didn't know until the GPS had us going down some winding back road highways that were just empty. Well, empty except for the 2 police cars that we came across, and it's like we weren't even speeding, and it's like I swear that they were following us for a while. I was freaking out. Okay, so empty aside from the 2 cop cars that we eventually managed to shake. So, and then just driving for about 3+ hours with no stops. I don't think I've ever had to use the bathroom so bad in my life. Woof. Then, once we finally got to El Paso, we're all tired, we're all beat, and we're all incredibly grumpy. It was about time to get a hotel for the night, but this is where things only got worse. You see, we decided on Holiday Inn. But when you've got 3 separate cars, 4 different Holiday Inns relatively close to each other, 2 GPSs that sent us to separate locations, winding city roads late at night, plus being tired, frazzled, and just, ugh. Well, I think you can see where this is going. Plus, I had just about had it with my brother at that point. I mean, the last thing I need when I'm tired, in a strange place, and my phone's GPS just sent me to the wrong place, it's for him to start yelling at me. So that was the incident in El Paso. Getting lost, a GPS screw-up, and my brother just being a butt. Yay, road trip! I'm just so glad that the road trip portion is over, but adjusting to being on my own, all the bills, the rent, everything is on me, no more safety net. I mean, there's a sense of freedom, but also a lot of responsibility. It's different, but there's a feeling of accomplishment through it all too. I mean, I've done things that I was never sure I'd be able to do, especially with the severe anxiety that I feel when undergoing huge changes in my life. Perhaps this is why I like creating original characters that are complete and total badasses, like sisters Kautounie and Neo Redsun, featured here in this video. So, I certainly hope that you all have enjoyed today's video. Be sure to gently tap that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Also, be sure to check out my Instagram at SilverHyenaArt. I like to post my works in progress, finished pieces, and just what I'm currently up to. I'd like to see you lovely people there. Anyways, with that being said, this is Silver Hyena, signing off. Stay creative, everybody. Bye!